Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Topher Drives. Welcome to this torrential downpour where I am sat in the Topher's 2024 Ford Ranger Raptor. This morning, we are going to M1 Concourse, so Mr. Vaughn Gittin Jr. here can film a rain drifting video on the track in his Ranger Raptor. But first, we got to get there. So I figured I would show you all what it's like to wake up, roll out of bed, and commute in your Ford Ranger Raptor. We're going to quickly brave this downpour. It looks like it maybe slowed down a little bit. We'll walk you around this thing. I'll tell you a little bit about it. Some of you probably already know about this truck because that guy over there actually owns it. But then we will jump on the road, we'll commute it, and I'll give you my daily driving impressions and tell you what it's like to live with this new baby Raptor. So, a couple of basics on this thing. 3-liter EcoBoost twin turbo V6, 405 horsepower, 430 pound-feet of torque. It has a 10-speed automatic. It's Raptorized. It has locking front and rear differentials. We've got more ground clearance, and this, in a lot of ways, makes a lot of sense. And the reason that the Topher bought this is because it's the Raptor in a smaller package. You don't have to deal with, the consequences of having a massive vehicle, but you can still get that Raptor badge. So things make a bit more sense. There's plenty of room in the back still for a child seat, and for adults, it's got about a 5.5-foot bed. And the dimensions of this thing make it so you can have a Raptor in the real world. And I know there will be people in the comments saying, oh yes, well I can use my F-150 Raptor on a daily basis. Yes, I understand that, but the Ranger Raptor makes things a little bit simpler, and you're not really sacrificing a whole lot unless you're going for the Raptor R and you want to have the V8 motor. But this still has an EcoBoost V6, so it isn't terribly down on power from the F-150. Before we set off, I'm going to attempt to use at least, this in-house Ford navigation to get ourselves to M1 Concourse. Usually I just play it easy and use Apple CarPlay, so I figured today we would try out this in-house infotainment. You got it. I believe in you. Yup.
Obey traffic laws.
Alert and I will.
Voice commands while driving.
So, it's raining out.
Drive to highlighted route.
Thank you so much. We're actually going to turn her off so I can continue to talk. It's raining out. We are on a set of KO3 all-terrain tires, so we're going to take it easy because the Topher reports to me that these are a little bit sketchy in the rain. We've got a 10-speed automatic, and we're going to leave this thing in 4 auto. I thought that would be a good test to kind of see how that behaves in a bit of a slipperier setting. Overall inside, we seem to have some pretty nice materials, and we'll talk a bit more about that once we get going. But let's go ahead and hit the road. Let's follow this Civic Type R. Let's turn on our wipers. Now, I've got to be honest. I have been a bit of a skeptic lately as far as some of the new Ford products have gone. I haven't been a big fan of their 10-speed automatics and a lot of their kind of driveline tuning in general. I feel like it's been a little bit lazy and sloppy, but I've spent a bit of time in this Ranger Raptor and things seem to be different. And what I like about this is that this generation of Ranger has already existed in other markets, which means this isn't something that's completely new that they had to just kind of make from the ground up and rush out, which feels like kind of what they've done for some of their other products. Ducks! Ah! No! Don't do that. So the fact that this truck has already existed and in other markets, it feels a little bit different. We've got a unique steering wheel on this. We have some controls I've never seen. I don't particularly care for the shifter because it's very easy to put it into park when you're going into reverse, which I should have showed you back there in the lot. But this shifter is very just kind of vague in the way that you never really know what gear you're going into. So that's something I don't like about it. But from a living with it perspective, I mean, all of the inputs that actually matter, your throttle response, even steering inputs, all of it kind of tied together to make this a very nicely dailyable package. And again, the best thing is you don't feel completely massive. Well, you might, depending on what you're doing, but the truck does not. We've got a number of different drive modes here on this truck that you can select. Ooh, big puddle, here we go. Aha. That you can select down here with this drive mode dial, or you can individually select different aspects of your drive mode on the steering wheel, similar to the F-150 Raptor. So I can set a specific steering feel, suspension, I can pick how loud I want my exhaust to be, all from the ease of the right button panel on the steering wheel. So that is nice as well. I always like a little bit more personalization. This is just going to be misery commute simulation. At this point, the TOPher has disappeared into the abyss, so we are on our own here. Man, what a way to test NVH. The 10-speed auto in this does search for gears pretty often, but at the end of the day, it's a 10-speed. It has a lot of choices, a lot of gears to choose from. And what I like about the 10-speed tuning on this Ranger Raptor is that it isn't clunky. Yes, it's searching for gears, there's a lot going on, but it kind of does it in the background, and the only indication you get of it doing things is that exhaust note, which means if you toggle your exhaust into quiet mode, which I've just done, you don't really hear anything. All right, best thing about this Ranger Raptor on the highway is the heft to this steering. You can really get yourself in a position here to kind of just rest one hand on the steering wheel, and small movements are not sending this truck flying. So this is something that you can pretty confidently stick on the highway and just go in a straight line, get yourself in a nice, comfortable driving position. You are all set to go. These KO3s, while I haven't really pushed them yet, getting a little bit of understeer there at 40 miles an hour. So I don't think these are a tire that you're going to want to push it with. Don't push it to the limit on these in the rain. I don't think that would be a very smart move, but you're able to kind of, I think, go in a straight line with these with no real problem. All right, the rain's calming down just a bit. We're not going to try and race the Reliable Carriers truck. Scooch in behind him. I do actually like this new infotainment in here quite a bit better than the old sync systems that they had in these Fords. I mean, well, I guess as late as like last year or the year before, I mean, they were terrible in the way that you would touch something on the screen and then legitimately 5 seconds later something would happen. This is not the best infotainment in the entire world, not even close, but it does react in a way that does seem like it's appropriate to be in a car of this decade. So that's a big improvement from what we had from Ford vehicles in years past. So what about the ride? Well, this is, at the end of the day, a body-on-frame vehicle, which means it is in general a little bit bouncy, but the actual damping itself is soft, and going down the highway with all of these kind of imperfections, with this thick sidewall, with these adjustable dampers and everything set to their softest settings, it soaks things up nicely and it feels pretty settled. It doesn't feel like terrifyingly bouncy. So that's nice as well. I'll never forget the time we took the Ram TRX to the sand dunes, and that was before I was filming anything for my personal channel. That would have been an epic video, but we commuted it, or road tripped it rather, like 5 hours home, and I drove the entire way, and that thing just bounced and bounced and bounced and bounced the entire way home, and I was so nauseous by the end of that and so turned off to these off-roady sort of trucks. but this does it right. This kind of strikes a nice balance here. Let's see what we got for passing power. Ooh, okay. Little sketchy there. But what I like is that this 10-speed can kick down. It can skip gears and give you that torque that you need to make a pass. Obviously, you're not making a pass in 10th gear, revved at 1700 RPM, but it can kick down pretty fast. Let's show you the difference between our exhausts. Here's normal. Here is sport. And here is Baja, off-road use only. I think this thing sounds proper. Obviously, it's a V6, so at the end of the day, in some situations, it does sound like a VQ, like a 350Z, but in other situations, you get some of that rasp and that unapologetic kind of Raptorness, so I do like that. Braking feels good. Nice feel through that brake pedal. It's a bit wooden, it's a bit stiff. Driving position is great. I've got the seat set in the lowest possible setting, and I can see over the hood. I can confidently see out of the sides. These door panels are at a good height to where you can kind of drive this like an old school Lexus GX, which I do appreciate. Navigation displays on the cluster as well. We don't have a head-up display on this Ranger Raptor. We also don't have a moonroof, but we have a bunch of auxiliary switches. So if you're sitting in traffic, that gives you a little bit of a fidget if you need to be occupied, or if you want to put light bars, you know, lights and things on this, it could be used for that as well. I like the overall design language of this interior. I love the code orange here on the vents, on the seats, on the steering wheel. The stitching is orange, the 12 o'clock is orange. Cool little touches, and the carbonized gray on the outside makes for a nice overall kind of cohesive spec on this thing. Driving position. Okay, this is probably the softest vehicle I've sat in a while, and this is very typical for Ford and typical for American vehicles in general. The seat, very squishy, and I'd be curious to see how this would hold up on a bit of a longer trip, because squishy seats aren't always great because they're not always supportive. But for the time being anyways, this seat does feel really nice. But the best part are these elbow spots, the center console, the door panel where you rest your elbows. These are the softest bits I've felt in so long. So as you guys know, I do really like that quite a bit. I am cozy in this on my morning commute and not being angry about being uncomfortable. So that is a plus for the Ranger Raptor. Let's run for a second with the exhaust in Baja mode just so you guys can get a sense for what this thing sounds like. We're still in 4 auto, but let's switch us into a different drive mode. Let's go sport mode, and we've got this little M on the side of the shifter. Can press that. That will lock me into manual mode, and I can take control with my large steering wheel mounted paddle shifters. This will give you blips as we lose traction there in 4th gear with these KO3s. The shifts are not snappy, they kind of slur. Pretty typical for this Ford 10-speed. It does make a cool noise, I'll admit. You can engage with this truck a bit, roll your own gears, but I don't know. Generally when I drive this thing, I leave it in automatic and kind of just let it do its own thing. Once you get above 8 gears, you're shifting too much. So it's just kind of best to let the vehicle do it itself. The only exception to that rule is the Lexus LC500. Also, I thought he took the running boards off of this, and now that I think about it, were they on in our walk around? Did I step on a running board to get up into this? He sent me a picture last week of the running boards off. because he is the biggest enthusiast of ground clearance in the entire world, I'm honestly pretty content in this thing, just chilling in the slowpoke lane, not passing anybody, relaxing with my exhaust in quiet mode. Yeah, this is cozy. This does the job. This does the commute with grace. Let's see if we can find our way through the screen here to take a look at what our fuel economy is. There we go, 14.5, okay. So that's one factor, is it's certainly not the most efficient thing in the world. I'll display the EPA rated fuel economy here on the screen, since I just got into this morning. Don't know it off the top of my head, my apologies. Overall NVH seems to be pretty nice. I mean, the most noise you get from this thing, well, the rain today obviously, but these tires, I mean, any all-terrain tire is going to have a little bit of whine, a little bit of howl. 10th gear, 65 miles an hour, 1800 RPM. Let's see what we're at. 70 miles an hour, 10th gear. Sorry, that's 9th gear. 70 miles an hour, 10th gear, about 1950 RPM. I would make an educated guess there and say that. I do a bit feel like I'm tiptoeing in some sections with these tires, which I don't like. I'm a bit clenched. Though visibility's good, mirrors very large. You can see out of those nicely. We've got some driver aids on this Ranger. We have a lane keep assist and we have adaptive cruise, neither of which have really seemed appropriate to try out today, but we'll turn on the lane keeping system and see what that does for us. As far as I know, this is kind of just like a boomerang. It'll kind of just bounce you back and forth if you start to go out of a lane or not, actually. Yeah, it just yells at you and vibrates the steering wheel. We don't have the full steering assist or blue cruise or anything on this Ranger Raptor. In some of these more calmed down settings, the 10 speed is shifting itself before 2000 RPM. Puddles. And it's overall a very conservative tune on this. And everything I said earlier is still consistent around town. You're not getting any jumpy throttle response. You're not getting harsh shifts from this 10 speed. Everything works as intended. They've finally kind of gotten this formula right here with this Ranger Raptor. And I am proud of Ford for finally dialing this formula in. Ooh, really good lumbar adjustment on this driver's seat, and it comes out quick. Oh, that is a aggressive lumbar. Doesn't go up or down, only goes in or out, but still gives you some good support from a seat that you otherwise kind of sink into like a 1970s couch. Welcome everyone to Woodward Avenue. I went the wrong way, and if you scrub back to the beginning of the video, you'll see that the nav said Birmingham, Michigan. That is not the city that M1 concourse is in, so I overlooked that, and now we are 15 minutes behind the TheTopher. So a bit of an adventure this morning, and even in the worst of scenarios with going the wrong way, adding an extra 20 minutes on and just kind of being frustrated in that sense, the actual truck, the Ranger Raptor, apart from its navigation being a bit confused, hasn't made me angry. And I think that's the most important part of a commuter vehicle, is that it should be easy on the mind and the body, of course. But this truck has performed in all of the ways that I hoped it would. So as we, in a way, cruise woodward here, why don't I wrap up my thoughts here on the TheTopher's Ranger Raptor? Well, I think I've essentially said everything I've wanted to say throughout the video, but I really want to validate that this makes sense in this sort of setting. If you want one vehicle to do it all and you still want a Raptor, but you don't want to make some of the sacrifices you have to make to drive a massive F-150 Raptor every day, then this, I could see this genuinely really working out for you. This still does have the Raptor characteristics in the way that it drives. It still has a twin turbocharged V6, it still has the 10-speed automatic, it still looks the part, it's lifted on big all-terrain tires, and You can get an obnoxious Raptor graphics pack on this if that's your thing. So it does all the Raptor stuff. It's got the cool steering wheel, all the cool bits on the interior, but it does it in a bit more of a utilitarian way. You can fit this up some smaller trails if you're into off-roading. You can fit this in smaller parking spots. You can do more things whilst being less stressed about having just a totally massive vehicle. So that's what I like about this. It behaves nicely, it's comfortable, the throttle tuning, everything is nice. The seat is, for the most part, comfortable. It's wearing on me a little bit, but the elbows are comfy. Driving position is really nice. It's got plenty of torque. I think they've made a good product here. Don't rely on the navigation. But 90% of this is pretty dang good. I also don't like the shifter. But apart from those couple of things, one of the best Ford products I've driven in a really long time. Test out this turning circle. Over the tracks. What railroad tracks? We made it to M1 Concourse. Let's pull in here. I don't know why there's a Kia EV9, but there's the Civic Type R, there's the TOFR. I'm only 18 minutes later than I was supposed to be, and the Ranger Raptor has gotten me here with grace, with comfort, and with minimal road noise. That last part wasn't true, but anyways, here we go. One last turning circle test. Let's pull up behind the Civic Type R. We'll give you one last look at this Ranger Raptor, and that will be it for today. If you guys want to learn more about this thing from someone who isn't a Ranger Raptor noob that hasn't spent a ton of time in this, head over to the TOFR channel. He owns this thing. He's got a ton of videos on it, and you'll get a better idea of what it's like to actually own one of these trucks. But let's shut it off. That's it. Yeah, the side steps are on still. Oh, okay. They must have been reattached. All right, guys. Well, that'll wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. And we will see you in the next one.
Hey.
Great for the commute,
Yeah.
don't you know?
Yeah.
Very cozy.
Super cozy, super comfy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. It's a Raptor for people that don't want to be in their own way all the time.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
You actually fit on the road.
you fit on the road, you fit in parking spots, you fit in garages, and it still does all the Raptor stuff. So it just makes sense.
Yeah. Let's
Cool.
go do some more Raptors.
All right, sounds good. And if you've stayed this long in the video, you get the treat of watching me follow Mr. Von Gittin TOFR as he drifts his pickup truck on a racetrack. I'm gonna follow him in the Civic Type R. So here we go. Look at that thing! If any of you ever wondered what it's like to work with the TOFR, here you go. This is about as accurately as I can portray it to you. The thing is, he's not going to get bored. We're going to be out here all day until the truck either explodes or advanced track it breaks. Oh, now he's in four-wheel drive or something. Oh my god, he's drifting in four-wheel drive now.
Oh my gosh, some of those shots are going to be amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
I am
super fun.
so excited. Can we watch them as soon as we get back?
Yeah.